Have you ever finished a book and remembered nothing? Have you ever driven home and lost the last 10 minutes of road? Have you ever been mid-conversation and noticed you have no idea what was just said? People call this distraction. People call it a lack of focus. But what if the real problem is something nobody taught you as a child? The samurai of ancient Japan had a name for it. They called it Zanshin. Zanshin is two characters. Zan, meaning that which remains. Shin, meaning mind or heart. Together, the remaining mind. The mind that does not collapse after the action is over. Before I tell you how the samurai trained this, and before I share the simple practice you can use tomorrow morning, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below with one place in your day where your attention falls apart. I read the comments. They shape the next video. In modern English, we use the word focus to describe two different things, and that is the source of the confusion. We use it for the moment of attention, the instant the mind locks onto something, reading the line, hearing the sentence, seeing the road. But Zanshin describes something else entirely. Zanshin is what happens after that moment. It is the trail of presence that remains in the second after. In the art of Japanese archery, Kyudo, the archer does not lower the bow the instant the arrow is released. He stays in the posture, he holds the breath, he keeps his eyes on the target. The arrow has already left, the action is done, and yet the mind has not collapsed back into thought. This is the remaining mind. This is Zanshin. In sword work, in the old schools, the same principle applies. A swordsman who finishes a strike and immediately relaxes has not finished anything. The opponent could rise. A second attacker could appear. The reality of the situation has not yet completed. So the swordsman holds his attention not on the strike, but on the silence after the strike. This is what the modern world has forgotten. We treat attention as something we turn on and off. We expect to be focused while we are working and free when we are not. The samurai understood that this on and off pattern is exactly what destroys you. Real focus is not a switch, it is a tail, it is the remainder. Most modern advice on focus tells you to try harder, eliminate the distractions, block the apps, time block the calendar, sit down and grind. There is nothing wrong with that advice. It addresses one half of the problem, the half that gets you to the chair. But it cannot teach you what to do once you are there. Watch yourself for one day. Notice the moment after each task, the moment a meeting ends, the moment you finish typing an email, the moment a conversation closes. What does your mind do in that next second? In most people, the mind already left 2 moments ago. Halfway through the email, you were composing the next email. Halfway through the conversation, you were rehearsing the reply. The body was at the desk. The mind was somewhere ahead of it, somewhere behind it, somewhere absent. Yagyū Munenori, the 17th-century swordmaster, wrote about this in a small book called Heiho Kateinsho, the life-giving sword. He wrote that the mind that dwells on the last moment cannot meet the next. He wrote that the mind which races ahead is not yet present in the now. He was not describing combat. He was describing perception. Perception fails in 2 directions. It dwells, it races ahead. Both of these failures are the same failure. Both of them are the absence of Zanshin. Zanshin is the mind that completes one moment before opening to the next. It does not abandon what just happened. It does not chase what is coming. It stays. It remains. In a small mountain dojo above a misty valley, there was an apprentice named Hayato. He was a fine archer. His arm was strong. His eye was true. He could split a melon at 30 paces, and his arrows clustered in tight groups on the target. But he had a problem. He could not stay still after the shot. The instant his arrow left the bow, his shoulders dropped. His eyes flicked to where the arrow landed. His breath collapsed. He was already thinking about the next arrow before the first one had finished its work. His master watched him for many weeks and said nothing. One morning, the master called Hayato to the practice ground. He drew a circle on the dirt floor of the range. Then he placed a single grain of rice in the center of the circle. He told Hayato to draw his bow, to hold the draw, to breathe, to release the arrow into the high straw target, as he always did. But after the release, the master said, "You will not lower the bow. You will keep your gaze on the grain of rice. You will hold the breath, and you will count slowly to 10. Hayato thought this was a strange exercise. He had been training for years. He understood archery. Why should he watch a grain of rice after the arrow had already flown? He did as his master asked. He shot, he held, he counted. On the third arrow, something shifted. He realized that his arrows were already different. They flew straighter when his mind did not collapse after the release. His grouping tightened on the target. His master watched and finally spoke. "The arrow does not end at the target," he said. "The arrow ends in the mind that watches. As long as you are watching, the arrow is still being shot. When you let your mind fall, you are not just ending the arrow, you are ending yourself." Hayato bowed and never forgot the lesson. Years later, he would teach his own students with a single grain of rice and a circle drawn in the dirt. What Hayato learned that morning is the same thing Yagyū Munenori wrote about a century earlier. The mind has a natural tendency to stop. It stops on the last moment. It stops on the imagined next moment. Both of these stoppages create the same problem. They destroy the field of presence the mind needs to work clearly. Yagyū used a phrase that is hard to translate exactly. Mind that does not stop. Mind that does not dwell. The closest English equivalent is the flowing mind. A mind that moves through experience without getting stuck on any single point of it. The unsettling truth is that this is the natural state of the mind. The mind does not have to be made to flow. The mind already wants to flow. We have trained it to stop. We have trained it to grasp every moment and clutch every thought and sort every experience into categories before the experience is even finished. The samurai practice was to undo this training, not to add a new technique, to remove the habit that was already there. Zanshin is therefore not something you do. It is something you stop doing. You stop ending the moment before it is finished. You stop racing to the next thing before this one is complete. This is why the practice feels strange at first, because nothing is being added. The work is in the silence after the action. The work is in not collapsing. Most people have never sat in the silence after an action. They live their entire lives moving from one collapse to the next, reading without finishing, listening without arriving, speaking without landing. The cost is hidden in plain sight. You wonder why you feel busy without feeling productive, why you read for an hour and remember nothing, why your relationships feel thin even when you spend time in them, why a full day passes and you cannot recall what was in it. The answer is not that you have done too little. The answer is that you have not finished anything you have done. Each act ended in your body, but not in your mind. Each conversation closed in the room but kept playing in your head while the next one started. Each task was abandoned mid-arrival. A life made of unfinished moments is a life that feels strangely empty even when it is full. You are not short on attention. You are short on Zanshin. You are short on the second half of your own attention. It is worth being clear about what Zanshin is not. Zanshin is not meditation. Meditation is sitting in stillness. Zanshin is staying in stillness while the world continues. Meditation is what you do on the cushion. Zanshin is what you carry from the cushion into the conversation, into the meeting, into the doorway as you leave a room. Zanshin is not stoicism. Stoicism is the trained response to what cannot be changed. Zanshin is the trained presence regardless of what is happening. A stoic accepts the storm. A samurai with Zanshin does not flinch in the wind because his mind has already absorbed the wind before the wind arrived. Zanshin is not hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is the exhausted state of a nervous system that cannot stand down. Zanshin is the opposite. The samurai who carried this state of mind was not anxious. He was settled. The settled mind sees more than the anxious mind. The settled mind is the watchful mind that does not need to be watching. You do not need a bow. You do not need a sword. You do not need a tatami mat or a master in a mountain dojo. The training of Zanshin is available to you in the next 2 minutes after you finish watching this video. Here is the practice. 3 places in your day where the modern mind collapses. 3 places where you can train the remaining mind instead. The first is the end of any conversation. Most people end a conversation by physically leaving and mentally jumping to whatever comes next. The phone is in the hand before the goodbye is finished, or the next thought is already chewing on tomorrow. Try this instead. After the next conversation ends, stay in the place where it happened for 10 seconds. Do not pick up the phone. Do not check anything. Just stay. Let the conversation finish. Let what was said arrive in you. This is Zanshin in the human field. The second place is the moment after you put your phone down. Most people scroll, then drop the phone, and the mind keeps scrolling for 10 more minutes inside the head. The phone is gone. The scrolling is not. Try this instead. After you put the phone down, sit with your hands open on your knees for 30 seconds. Watch what your mind does. Notice that the residue of what you just consumed is still moving in you. Let it settle. The phone is the easy part. The aftermath of the phone is what most people never train. The third place is the morning. You wake up. The first thing most people do is reach for the phone or for coffee or for the next demand. There is a small window before that reach. Maybe 60 seconds, maybe 30, just before you reach. Sit up. Do not reach. Place your feet on the floor. Sit with the silence in your body for 1 minute. The whole day will be built on what happens in that minute. Most people skip it. The samurai never did. These 3 small practices, repeated, are the entire art of Zanshin in modern life. The end of a conversation, the end of the phone, the opening of the day. 3 transitions, 3 moments where the mind tries to collapse, 3 moments where you stay instead. Do this for 1 week, and you will notice something. Your attention through the day will deepen, not because you are forcing it, because you have stopped breaking it. There is one more piece. The samurai called this the closing of the breath. After every action that requires attention, the breath should not change immediately. If you have been holding the breath in concentration, do not exhale at the moment the action finishes. Hold the breath for 1 count past the moment. Let the action complete in stillness, then release the breath. This sounds small. It is not small. The breath is the most reliable signal of where the mind has gone. When the mind collapses, the breath collapses with it. Long inhale held during the work, then a sudden audible exhale the moment it is over. Watch any anxious person at a desk, and you will see this pattern. The samurai trained the breath to outlast the action by 1 count, not to hold forever, not to suppress. Just to give the action 1 full breath of remaining presence after the technique was complete. This is the body learning Zanshin. You can do it now. Take a breath. Hold it lightly. Watch this sentence finish. Exhale only after the sentence has fully landed in you. That is the practice. That is the entire teaching of an ancient Japanese tradition condensed into 1 breath. If this practice spoke to you, leave a comment with the moment in your day where you most often collapse, the end of a meeting, the walk home, the first 10 minutes of the morning. Tell me where it happens. I read every comment. If you want more like this, watch the video that appears next on your screen. There is one on Mushin, the no-mind, which is the closest cousin of Zanshin and worth understanding alongside it. The samurai who trained this lived in a time when the next breath could be the last. They built a practice for a world where attention was survival. We live in a world where attention is also survival. The threats are different. The cost of distraction is different. But the same teaching applies, because the human mind has not changed. Hayato learned it with a single grain of rice. You can learn it with a single conversation, a single phone, a single morning. The practice does not require an instructor. It does not require a temple. It does not require time you do not have. It requires only the willingness to stay 1 count longer than you are used to staying. To watch the arrow land. To let the moment finish. Remember this. Real focus is not what you do during the work. Real focus is what remains in you after the work is done. The mind that finishes 1 moment before opening the next is the only mind that can actually live. Sit still. Cut clean. Walk on. See you in the next video.